everybody. Today we're having a group of us do a book about a really interesting book. How to Steal a Dog by Barbra O'Connor. It's a story about a little girl who has a problem and she has to try and fix it. I don't want to go into any more until we introduce everybody else. So our participants, we'd like to, and I'm Miss Brandon Melvin. I'm the librarian at Maplewood Heights, and they've asked me to lead our discussion, and this sounds like so much fun. So participants, you want to introduce yourself?
I'm Kira.
I'm Lauren. I'm Olivia.
I'm Kayla.
Hi, everybody. My name is Tanya.
Okay, so here's our stars for today, and we're going to share all our questions and thoughts about this really interesting book. The book by Barbra O'Connor tells a story about a young girl who's struggling to see what is right and what to do when everything seems so wrong. I could give a summation of the book, but would one of you girls like to try and do that? Who would like to try and give like a little summary of what the book is going to be about or introduce it? Danya?
Yeah, sure. So, How to Steal a Dog by Barbra O'Connor is about a little girl, Georgina Hayes. Her dad left her, and so she got kicked out of the apartment because she didn't have any money to pay the rent. So she lives in a car. She's always really worried about her friends finding out that she lives in a car and stuff. So one day she was just tired of everything and she just wants to get money so she can live in a better place than that car. So she saw a little old sign that said reward $500 for a dog. She knew she couldn't find that dog because it was like way too old. So then she decided she should steal a dog. So she went to a few streets and then she found a perfect dog, and that dog was like really nice. It didn't bark too much, and she thought the owner of the dog was really rich because her last name was Whitemore and the road was named Whitemore Road. So after a few times she wrote notes in her notebook about how she should steal the dog. She planned everything. And at school she was always like, she used to be really nice at school, but now she was always super dirty all the time because she lived in a car. So
okay, so hold on. So stop right there. So that's got a good intro. We got an idea of what's going to happen. We don't want to give it all away yet. We want to discuss it. Okay. Anybody else want to say anything to prep us to get into it? Lauren?
Well, it's about a girl named Georgina. Is that how you say it?
Mm-hmm.
And she saw a sign that says that this dog was lost and that the reward was $500. So she thought if she could take a dog, she could get the reward, and so she could live in an actual house because she lived in a car with her mom and her brother.
Okay. And Olivia?
Drags her brother Toby along with her idea to steal a dog after she sees the sign and tries to get $500 because she asks her mom, is $500 enough to get an apartment? And her mom says, oh yeah, sure. So that's what pushes her to go through with the idea.
Okay, so is it anybody's fault that they are homeless as they are now? Is it truly anybody's fault? Kayla?
It all started when the dad left. So yeah,
So it's
I
kind
think,
of dad's fault, but they're just kind of stuck. They don't have any. They couldn't have changed that. It just happened, right? What do you and how do you feel? Danya started to touch on it. How do you think the two kids, Georgina and her brother Toby, how do you think they feel about being poor?
well, I know they both really hate it, but I just feel like Georgina is more determined to get out of it than Toby because he's only like in third grade and he just sort of cries all the time. But I think they both hate it equally, but Georgina's more determined to get out of it than Toby.
She's kind of the leader. Anybody else want to say something about that, about how they must feel? Olivia?
Georgina is always talking about something bad always happens, or she talks about having a bad day throughout the book, like every other chapter-ish. She says, "Oh, I knew it was going to a bad day, going to be a bad day because so and so, so and so."
You see that she's really unhappy, right? And it keeps coming out over and over and over. Kira?
I think that she's kind of jealous because she's always talking about seeing her friends being able to go to like Girl Scouts and ballet class, and she isn't able to because it costs too much money.
That's a good point too. So you've all said some really good things here. Olivia?
And I know kind of what the Girl Scouts and ballet all adds up to, and I could see if she lives in a car why she couldn't do Girl Scouts and ballet, because I do them both, and you have to pay for them. And she also talks about her friends going to softball practice and YMCA.
So this point that you've just brought up is really a good point in the idea of how we should think about all the things we have and all the abilities that we have, whereas when you become homeless like this, you lose so much of that. It's a really good point to bring up, because they are really in troubles here. How do you think this affects their schooling? How would you feel if you were in that situation, Lauren?
I would feel really stressed and annoyed because on top of having to live in a car and trying to get clean, you also have to try to pay attention in school and get all your homework done without getting in trouble.
Good point. Kara?
I would feel kind of ashamed because you don't look like everyone else, you don't do things like everyone else because of your living condition.
Yes, good point. Just think, just to wash your hair, just to feel like you're clean. How hard would that be to not be? And lots of times she takes us out on her little brother by telling him he doesn't smell good or whatever. But I think it's her frustrations with her own self that she does that. So she comes up with this plan. And someone want to repeat, what is this plan she has? Olivia?
It was a very bad plan to steal a dog, and she keeps reminding herself that stuff that she forgets and putting it in her journal, and she doesn't think about it that much. She's like, "Oh, I see a sign to steal a dog. Then, oh, I could steal a dog to get money."
Right, she's trying to fix her problem. Kira?
But later on, she realizes it's bad, and she kind of ignores that feeling.
She talks about, what is it that she has this little tapping inside her that just keeps tapping and tapping and gets stronger and stronger. And it's that tapping as her telling herself, this is not a really good idea. Kayla?
Well, so she has a plan to steal a dog to get the money, but she goes ahead with her plan because she's tired of living in a car. She wants to do the best to improve her situation.
She's trying to find a better way, but she's not sure this is the right way. Olivia?
She also says a couple of times in the book that she knows that stealing a dog is not good, but she thinks it's okay just to get money, and she actually makes friends with the person, Carmela, whose dog she stole, and she keeps the dog even though she sees that Carmela is sad because she wants the money.
Right. So you've talked a little about how her plan is right or wrong, and we kind of all agree that it's wrong, but she's trying her best to come up with a solution to their horrible, horrible situation. What are some of the things that can go wrong with this plan? Olivia? Or what were you going to say?
Some of the things that could go wrong is that the dog could escape, or the dog could get hurt, or be hungry, or just become sad and somebody else might find it. And also, like what happened in the book, Carmela the person might not be able to give the money that you want if you're doing it for money. And a better idea Georgina could have done is a bunch of kids do this already, but go around places and offer jobs to people for money.
Offer to
Like
work to get
to
money?
wash their car or something and have them pay you, or watch their pet instead of steal it.
Oh, good points. Lauren?
What else could go wrong is she could have been seen taking the dog away and somebody could have called the police. The dog could have been scared and bit her. And maybe when if Carmela did find out, maybe Carmela would get really mad and do something she would regret.
Regret. Kira?
Kind of similar to Lauren's, and although some people did figure it out, Georgina got lucky because they weren't like people trying to call her out. But if someone who were to call her out found out, then she could have been in really big trouble.
Oh, good point that you make there. She's really quite lucky or fortunate that so many people see the good side of her, or stay on her side and try and help her. There's so many people. We can talk about that some more later. Let's see. So if you could describe Georgina in the beginning of the book, what kind of character traits would you say she has?
Well,
Tanya?
yeah, so in the beginning of the book, she was so desperate, and I think that was really cool what she did for that desperation. So, she was very brave and determined to get out of that situation, because if I was in a situation, I would have never dared to steal a dog or anything. Something that was very, very brave of her to do, but also it wasn't the best thing to do. So brave can sort of be bad and good, but with that, because of how desperate she was, I think she did something brave that wasn't really the best thing to do.
I think you're putting that really well, that we see and understand. And I think those people that did help her understood that she was just trying her very best to get out of this situation. Kayla?
I think Georgina, she's very determined. She didn't she actually stole a dog, even though she knew it was wrong. She, instead of letting her mom take care of the situation, she wanted to do the best she could to do it.
Okay. Lauren?
I agree with both Ganya and Kayla. I also think she's persistent to try and find ways and think of all the possibilities of how to steal a dog. But I also think, in a way, she's caring because she's trying to help her mom get enough money to buy a house for herself and her brother.
Good points. Kara?
I think she's kind of ambitious at the start because she's willing to go as far as to steal a dog to get out of her situation. And she's also kind of depressed because she knows that her living condition is bad and most people aren't in the same situation as her that she knows. And so she feels really alone.
Oh, good points. What was the word you used? I was going to say frustrated, but you used what word?
Ambitious.
Okay, all right. Olivia?
I think she's kind of rude because she's always being mean to her brother, and she tells her mom to start being like a mom in the middle of the book, which is really rude. And she's also kind of dishonest because she lies to a lot of people. Like the character Mookie, who found out about the dog, she tells him that it's her dog and the landlord wouldn't allow dogs at her house.
Right, she found excuses and such. Kayla?
Well, I think she's mean to her brother and lies and gets mad at her mom because she's depressed. She's frustrated about the life she's living right now.
I agree. Kira?
I kind of agree with Olivia, like she's being really unfair to her mom because her mom's really trying and Georgina's just like getting mad at her.
I think you could write a whole book about how she really responded poorly to Mama. who was trying so hard to help them in this awful, awful situation. Poor mom who did what? What was mom like? What did she do? Olivia?
The mom ended up working 2 jobs just to get enough money to live. And Georgina's just kind of ungrateful about that. She's like, isn't there something more you can do, even though she's already working 2 jobs? And there's a bunch of parts where her mom gets home late because she's been working. And she also gets fired from her job and has to find one really quickly to just keep enough money for her family to live off of.
Right. Kira?
She's also really trying hard because she's trying to cheer them up with like candy and things, and she's trying to get a better place to live really hard.
Really, really hard. Lauren?
Yeah, I agree. And I also think even though that Georgina didn't think that her mom was trying, as Kira and Olivia said that she did try to work hard and get jobs, and she tried to spoil them a little bit, even though it may not seem a lot to other people. It was really nice of her to do that, and still trying to make sure that her kids had everything that they wanted.
Right. Olivia?
They also end up getting an old house, and Georgina kind of leads Toby into having a not positive attitude about it. And they could have cleaned it up, they could have made it look nicer, and they could have made it like a house.
Which
The
mama
owner
was
does end
trying
up
to
kicking
do.
them out, but Georgina could have tried because her mom was really trying to help them, her and Toby, but she just pushed it away and always wanted something better.
Right, right. So I would think you guys have kind of circled around where she started and kind of in the middle and maybe toward the end. But in the beginning, you could even say she was bossy. You could say she was very frustrated. You could say she was insulting to both her mama and her little brother, Toby. And you could say she kind of wallowed in that pity of how terrible it was for her. Whereas mama tried her best, and Toby kind of followed Georgina, even though he kept bringing up to her, hey, this isn't right and this isn't right. And so she would get mad at him each time. So in the beginning, she definitely had some problems and things she needed to work on. Kira, were you going to say something?
Yeah, so Georgina, she's also kind of like getting mad at Toby for doing the right thing or suggesting the right thing.
Right. So even though he kind of really helped her out a couple times, like even figuring out, hey, what are you going to do for food? And that just kind of hit her between the eyes, like, what am I going to do now? And then she had to come up with that answer. So Toby was pretty smart in many ways, even though she kept saying he wasn't very smart. So how would you feel about having to try to explain being homeless to your friends? And how would you feel about trying to keep it a secret?
Yeah.
Kayla?
Well, it's hard because it's embarrassing, and comparing yourself to other people's lives, it's hard.
It's very hard. Kira?
I agree with Kayla. It would be really embarrassing, especially if they aren't homeless, which they probably are.
Many are not, right?
Yeah.
Danya?
Yeah.
So, Georgina was always worried about how, she always like told her mom, how embarrassed she would be if Luann, her best friend, found out. But, I do sort of agree with her. It would be very hard to tell, but, sometimes you've just got to face the truth. Can't always
Right.
hide it.
Well put, Danya. Lauren?
I think it would make me feel as if I'm not as good as everyone else. If I didn't have a house like everyone else did, it would make me probably, I would most likely pity myself and be too depressed to try and talk to people, because it would make me feel probably as if maybe even they were judging me, even if they most likely weren't.
Right, right. Good points. Kira?
I kind of agree with Danya because even though Luann wasn't really supportive, if you have different friends, they could be really supportive and they could help you.
Right. Kayla?
I was gonna agree with Lauren because you don't want people to judge based on what they have and what you don't have.
And she's a kid. How hard must it be to stand so strong and believe in yourself? Because that's really what it's about and out is to believe in yourself and that it wasn't her fault she was at where she was. That would be a hard, hard place to be. Okay, so about chapter 2 or so. Georgina, what does she mean when she says, as I read my list of rules over again, half of me was thinking, Georgina, don't do this. Stealing a dog is just plain wrong. The other half of me was thinking, Georgina, you're in a bad fix and you got to do whatever it takes to get yourself out of it. Think about that. How would you feel if you were at that point? This is where she's thinking, should I do it or should I not do it? My half and half stuff. Lauren.
I would feel stressed to either do the right thing or the other thing, stealing the dog and feeling guilty afterward, but most likely getting the reward and maybe even getting a house. I would be tempted to do either one, and I think I would just get maybe upset or even more stressed trying to decide between the two options.
The two options, which way to go. Well done, well said. Danya?
Yeah, so some people say there's this thing called your conscience that usually tells you what to do. And it's super hard when you're like struggling with two options. Sort of like it happens a lot because there's equally two benefits. Like when I eat ice cream, like, ooh, I really want to eat it because it tastes really good. But then on the other side, it's like, oh, it's not really very good for me. So it's sort of like that. And I think it would be so hard to decide what to do.
Right. Oh, well said. Well put on that comment. Olivia.
I would decide not to steal the dog, and I wouldn't be in that situation of thinking about that because stealing a dog is just plain wrong, and even considering it kind of makes you an untrustworthy person because you have to do a lot of lying, cheating, and stealing to steal a dog. So.
Just all those things that go with it, all the wrong things to do that go with it. Kayla?
Well, if you had to choose, you'd be really stressed because it's either doing the right thing, because you know it's wrong and it's bad to steal a dog, or get a house or an apartment and a real place to live that can fix your situation, but you know it's wrong. So it'd be hard to choose which one.
It would
you
be
choose.
really hard to choose. I mean, and it would be, and I think that's where all those people that were there to help her could see that. I think they were trying to see it from that angle. Kira?
I would feel really stressed and torn, and I would probably go with, I'd probably not steal a dog, and I'll try and find another way to get money that doesn't require doing something wrong.
One of you were talking about how strong and determined she was in order to do what she did, because that would take a lot to go all the way through all those things that she did. How'd she pick the dog? How was it that she picked the dog when they walked around looking at different dogs? Kayla?
Well, she wanted to find a dog that the owner loved very much. If the owner was shouting at the dog and telling him to go outside, she knew it was the wrong dog. Or if the
Right.
dog would bite or he growled, that wasn't the right dog either.
So she went through her checklist. Lauren?
Wanted to make sure that, as Kayla said, the owner loved the dog very much, so they would be willing to put out a reward. And she wanted to make sure that the dog would be quiet, so if the dog started barking, people would probably hear it. So she needed to make sure the dog would be quiet, and the dog needed to be nice because she could get hurt if it got scared or angry.
So she was thinking about those things. She made that list. Wow. Olivia?
She was looking around trying to find the perfect dog that had a rich owner, that cared about them. It didn't bark. It was really nice dog and it looked well cared for. And the dog didn't bark, bite, or do anything that nobody would like in a dog.
Right. Kira?
Although her plan did seem pretty like thought out and good, but there was really a whole bunch of things that she was assuming, such as the owner of the dog being rich.
Right, right. But she thought this lady must really be rich. Lauren?
Yeah, I agree with Kira. The plan did seem pretty straightforward until she realized that she calculated some things wrong. As Kira said, that the owner wasn't rich, and she didn't even really think about where to keep the dog, and her brother had to help her with a few things to remind her of a few things that she needed.
Right. So Toby came to the rescue there and said, well, hey, what are we going to do here? Kira?
So yeah, although at the start of the book, she doubted telling Toby was a good idea, it ended up helping her. He ended up helping her out a lot, and if she didn't tell him, then she would have probably had to think of a lot of things like very last minute.
Right. In the beginning, she wasn't sure she even should tell Toby. Why did she choose to tell Toby? Danya? Sorry.
Well, as I said before, Georgina was more determined to get out than Toby, and she knew that Toby's really young, and he would have Georgina's afraid because Toby is really young and he wouldn't help too much. But if Georgina didn't tell Toby, then Toby would have known that Georgina's doing something secret and then told her mom, and then it would have been a total mess.
Tell on her to mom. Olivia?
She decided to tell him only because she had to take care of him after school, and if she was suddenly gone, like every time after school, then Toby would suspect something, and like Danya said, tell her mom.
Tell his
So,
mama.
and then the mom would know that she was stealing the dog, and Georgina would be even more trouble than she was already in.
What are some of the things or actions or avenues she could have explored? Somebody said something a little bit about it, but what could she have done or who could she have turned to instead of going down this route all by herself, trying to take care of it all by herself? Kira?
She could have asked her teachers for help, because normally teachers are pretty supportive and they want to help you with your problems.
What was her teacher's name?
It was
Mr. White.
Mr. White. So he seemed like a pretty nifty guy, didn't he? And wasn't he always there trying to say, Kayla, I see something's happening? How did Mr. White seem to you? Olivia?
Mr. White, Georgina even said that he was a nice teacher and that she hated lying to him. She just didn't want anybody to know that she was homeless.
Right.
And like I said earlier, she could have taken up little odd jobs for other people to get money instead of stealing a dog to just help her mom out. And her mom could have turned to the government and stuff, because if a parent leaves, it's the law that they have to send a monthly check to take care of the kid.
Oh, that's a good point too. Although it doesn't always happen. Kira?
he's very understanding, because he knows there's something wrong, but he doesn't quite know what it is, and he still tries and helps her with it, even though he doesn't know what it is.
Tries to help support her. She says to her friend, Luann, was it? And she said, well, what did he ask you? And he said, what's going on? And he was going to have to talk to the principal about the problem or get to her mama, because she's never giving those letters to mom. And she says, yes, sir, I told him. What I didn't tell him was that my daddy was long gone and my mama couldn't even get us a place to live, and my things had gotten thrown out with garbage. I didn't tell him my best friend didn't even like me anymore, and now she had a new friend. All I said to him was, yes, sir. And I stuffed one of the envelopes back into the back of my backpack, and I wasn't going to give it to my mom. She's really, really frustrated and doesn't think that she can turn to him. So then we find this awful situation. They go to this old house, rickety old house. She puts it down, but Mama at least found someplace for her. Mom says, don't leave your stuff in there. Put it back in the car when we leave each day. Why did she say that? Olivia?
Because some people might think the house is still vacant and try and steal stuff. People thought that my house was still vacant, and they actually took a package off of our front porch because they thought the house was still vacant and somebody had just sent something there by accident.
Ah, yeah.
Yeah.
Danya?
So yeah, like Olivia said, that is a pretty good point. And also, it's sort of like Georgina and Toby said, I don't really like the place because it's so dirty and it didn't really have clean stuff. So mom acted like it was fine, but I think deep inside she knew it wasn't that good of a place. So yeah.
Right. So she said, we better keep our stuff together. Kira?
People like Georgina and her family could come into the house and they could they would probably be kind of desperate too, and they'd probably easily take their stuff.
Be a desperate place to be all the time. So they needed to leave each day. Olivia?
Somebody else named Mookie, one of the characters, he actually was there on that property, even though he didn't own it. So somebody like him he could have went inside the house and taken the stuff because all he had was a bike.
Right. So now we're getting into the nitty gritty here. So here they are at this house. She finds this house, or they found the house, and then she decides that's where she can keep the dog. She goes there and she hears another person. My goodness, how would you guys react if you went to this house and you had this determination? You go there to feed the dog and there's somebody else there. Oh my goodness. Now what? Lauren?
I'd probably do the same thing Georgina did, hiding behind a bush and seeing who it was.
I think I'd turn around and run home, or wherever home was. Danya?
Yeah, I agree with Lauren, but then after that, I was sort of surprised how fluently and like casually Georgina sort of talked. I mean, I knew she was a little bit afraid, but I don't know. I wouldn't really talk that nice to a stranger.
Right, I would have been so scared. And so again, she was doggone lucky this gentleman was who he was, wasn't she? Can you talk about Mookie? What can you say about him? Wow, I think he's an interesting person. Kira?
He's very nice and he's kind of quirky too, because he's just kind of random, and he figures things out a lot, but he doesn't like to come out and say it. He likes to let people know in his own way.
Oh, right, good points. Kayla?
Well, his name is Mookie. He lives at the street. He doesn't have a house or an apartment. But he has a bicycle. He does things for other people. Because he doesn't really need the money because he's already happy the way he is. So he likes doing good deeds for other people than receiving gifts.
Oh, well said. So he doesn't have much at all, but he's happy with his life. And he moves on and he helps others all the time. Danya?
Yeah, so like Kayla said, he's only happy with just one bicycle, but then Georgina, on the other hand, is not happy when she
Oh,
has a
good
car with a lot of
point.
stuff.
Good
And
point.
also, there's a lot of books where there's this one character that always changes the character's perspective, and they know a lot. And like Kira said, they don't tell everybody, and I think that's how Milky is, because he sort of always changed Georgina's perspective, because she was like very confident that she was gonna steal a dog, and then Mookie came, and then she was like she knew that Mookie knew about everything she was gonna do that wasn't actually her dog.
Oh, well put. Boy, I like that you bring this up, that he helps her change her perspective quietly. He doesn't say it out loud, but he gives her a few hints here and there, and he helps her to see what she's doing so much better. Kira?
He's also like very confident because he's missing two fingers and he like goes out and shows it, whereas most people would kind of feel like scared of what people would react to,
Right, right,
kind of like unconfident in themselves.
right. But he definitely believed in
Yeah.
himself.
And
Yeah,
even though Georgina kind of gets scared, he still just kind of laughs.
well put, well put. Kayla?
One of the things he does to change Georgina's perspective is his mottos.
Oh,
Uh,
yes. Do you remember any of them? I was going to ask that.
I do.
uh,
I do.
You want?
there's one called the more you stir it, the more it stinks.
Yeah.
That means the more you do something bad, like, or you lie, it gets worse. So
Right,
sometimes the trail you leave behind you is more important than the path ahead of you. That
right.
That probably means you should do good deeds.
Oh, well put. Anybody want to expound on that? Lauren?
So I think Mookie kind of represents that you don't need like money or fancy things to make you happy.
It comes from within. Danya?
Yeah, and I agree with everybody. And also, like I said, he did change people's perspective. But yeah, like Kayla said, it was the models a lot. Like sometimes the more you stir it, the more it stings. Like, cause Georgina was always like, no, no, it's my dog. Oh, really? No, cause she was still sort of supporting herself, and then she knew it was just no point. And also, Georgina asked Mookie like, you do like jobs for free? How is that even possible? Why would you do that? And then yeah, he knew he was just going to be happy, and he wanted to do good deeds just for fun and to help other people.
Oh, what an interesting person he was. Kira?
For the motto, the trail you leave behind is more important than the one ahead. I think that the trail you leave behind is kind of like your reputation, and it can change how your path ahead can be. So it's really important to have a good reputation.
Oh, Kira, lovely. Really nicely said. Olivia?
I noticed that Georgina says that she there's an Aesop's fable where he says that remember there's somebody always worse off than you, and she says there's nobody worse off than me, and she still believes that, I feel, even though Mookie only has a bike and he doesn't have anything, whereas she has a car and some stuff too.
Yes, yes. Lauren?
I think something that I like that Mookie said, which I think you should have made a motto, was that some people need your help more than you need money.
Ah, oh, golly, you guys are hitting it right on the nail on the heads. Um, let's see. Oh, so Mookie helps the family and at a really important point. What was that he did for them? Or how do we even know he did it? And why do we think he did it? And so on and so forth. Olivia?
He fixed their car because they had it parked um, near the coffee shop, which is also near the house where Georgina was stealing the dog, and that she knows he did it because he kind of has like a weird little smirk on his face, and he was the only one around who could know about the car being broken and would know how to fix it, and does jobs for free.
There was something else that she saw too. Kira?
I just want to add, like, so he fixed their car and did a good deed for them, even though Georgina wasn't the nicest to him.
Right. He even said, why'd you take the dog when the dog got away and found him in town? She really felt bad about that afterwards when she realized, and he said, what was the clue that she saw that he had fixed the car? What was that? A little clue. Lauren?
It was that there was bike tracks leading up to the car.
Footprints and bike tracks leading from the car and to the car, yeah. So she realized, aha. And then when they were driving to school that one day, when the friend took them, the lady said, oh, look at that man. He's been driving around a lot lately, and he always has a smile. He just seems so happy. And he didn't have much at all, and yet he was happy. Okay. Anybody else want to make comment about anything else? Olivia?
There's one part where Georgina helps Carmilla put up the signs, and she doesn't tell Carmilla that she has a dog, even though Carmilla says, I just want to die, because her dog is gone and that's all she has. And Georgina kind of feels bad, but if she had really felt bad and if she was a good person, then she would have told Carmilla that she had the dog and brought it back, because Carmilla is really, really depressed and upset, and Georgina kind of just wants the money, even though she knows Carmilla doesn't have it.
Right, right. So here's Georgina learning all the way through the book, from the beginning of how she was into the middle, all the way up to this point. She still hasn't made great big changes. But Lauren, what happens then?
She learns that good things can happen, and even though that she did steal the dog, Carmilla wasn't mad. She was definitely disappointed, but she understood why, and she was still able to get a house.
And she was still able to say, please come back and walk my dog, and that she's her friend still. Yeah. Laura, Kira?
So Carmela's really nice because even though Georgina was selfish enough to steal her dog, she still accepted that she had made a mistake, but she forgave her.
She forgave her. Olivia?
If I was Carmela, I wouldn't have forgave Georgina that quickly. I wouldn't have done nothing because she literally stole my dog, went on private property, and lied to me for weeks about not, for like a week, with about not knowing where the dog was, and trying to force me to get money from my sister and starting a fight with my sister over the money, even though Georgina, because Georgina is forcing her into doing that.
Right, good point. So here we are, near the end of the story. Would you consider Georgina to be a good person or not? Danya?
Yeah. Before I said that she was determined to get out of the situation and she was brave in a sort of baddish way. But in the book, you see that she was like, she felt so bad for Willie, and then she imagined Willie's face being on a milk carton saying, "Have you seen me?" and how Carmela would be so disappointed. So even though she did a pretty bad thing, she knew that it was wrong. So in the end, I would consider Georgina being a good person, because you do things wrong and everybody does things that are wrong, but then the most hard thing to do is accepting that you're wrong and knowing it.
Oh, Danya, well put. What a good point. We all can make mistakes. You've got to own up to it and go from there. And she did do that, didn't she? Kira?
I feel like in the end she was a good person and all that, but she still may need to grow a little bit more.
I think we can grow all the time, forever and ever, all of us. That's a good point too. Olivia?
I think that Georgina is a bad person because she steals the dog, she's rude to her family, along with it, she's rude to other people outside of her family, like her teachers and other kids too. I think she told one kid to shut up at one point, and she's just very mean and rude throughout the story and does things that she knows are wrong, and instead of reflecting and saying, "Oh, that's wrong, I shouldn't do it," she does it anyway.
True, all those things are really true, but I think our story is trying to tell us that you can change things around, and that we all, and she had so many people that helped her without just giving up on her and letting think, oh, she's just no good, we don't want her around. Lauren?
I think Georgina had good intentions, but she did the wrong thing. And also with her brother, she probably would have been nicer, but from her perspective, she was probably already really stressed out and she didn't really need him talking to her when she's trying to figure things out. He was probably annoying at sometimes to her, which makes her more mad and tries to make herself feel better by saying mean things to him.
Right. Kayla?
Well, in the end, I would say she's a good person because she knew she did something wrong and she told the truth, and she accepted that she made a mistake and she was going to do what she could to make it be right. And so actually, after she told the truth, good things started to happen. Her mama, they found a house. So I think in the end, she was a good person.
Right. So I think the whole story talks about that. And then she made up her new list, how not to steal a dog at the very end. And at the very, very last page, he says, I closed my notebook, slid it back under my pillow, and I lay there in my own bed. Just think she's in a bed again. And wondering where Mookie went and what lead trail he's leaving behind him now. And she looked over at Toby and saw him sucking his thumb in the bed next to mine. I went over the window, looked out to the night. I took a deep breath. The air smelled really good, like honeysuckle and new mowed grass. And it didn't stink at all. Wow, what a story. Olivia?
Also, her brother is like a little bit nicer to Georgina than she is to him because he's kind of still accepting of her and still trying to help her even though she's been rude to him.
Toby's been pretty good all the way through, hasn't he? Kira?
I feel like if the story was from Toby's perspective, it may be a little harder for him because not only does he have the same situation as Georgina, but he also has Georgina not really being nice to him as long as everyone else.
Oh, really good point. That was my last question I was going to ask. What do you think if the story was written from the perspective of the others? What if it was written from the perspective of Toby? What if it was written from the perspective of Mookie? What if it was written from the perspective of Mama? All those people were really important in this story. How would it have been different if we'd seen it? Even though we got to understand their point of view, it was always from the first person viewpoint of Georgina, wasn't it? Danya?
Okay, yeah. So if it was from Mookie, then it would be sort of different because it would be like I saw this girl and then I knew that she stole the dog and stuff like that, so it wouldn't be as much a surprise as what Mookie you know. And from mom's perspective, I don't know, see, it would be like she wouldn't do that much interesting stuff. It would just be like how hard she works and work, and we wouldn't see what Georgina would do. And we would also see how hard she works and what she thinks of Georgina not being that grateful to her.
Right. Oh, well, good points. Kira?
I kind of agree with Danya with Mookie's point because like he found, well, so Georgina comes and finds him, and then he knows that she needs help even though she is technically in a better living condition than him, but he still tries to help her.
Right. Kayla?
If it was from Mookie's perspective, it would show Georgina coming over and him knowing that she stole a dog, but he still helps her. But if it was with Toby's perspective, it would be about Georgina and how he's still helping her. And if it was Mama's perspective, it would show with her work, her boss firing her, uh, her getting frustrated all the time. So yeah, those would be really different perspectives.
They would, wouldn't they? Lauren?
From Toby's perspective, it would probably be wanting to have his sister be proud of him and wanting to hang out with his older sister and about having to try to steal a dog because that's what his sister wants. But I think the most interesting perspective would probably be either from Toby's or Georgina's, and Georgina's perspective probably has the most important message is why they have it from her point of view.
Oh, what a good note to end on. She's got the message, sends it to all of us, doesn't it? Kira?
So I feel like everyone's perspective, except probably Mookie's, is everyone's probably feeling like life is really unfair, including Carmela. And
Wow, yes.
and even though Georgina feels like she's really alone, I think that many other people would feel the same way if it was from their perspective.
I agree. Really well said. So I'm thinking what I come away with most is one, that we all have it much better than we may even think we have it. And that there's always someone else that doesn't have it as well as us, and that we should look at the brighter side and try and help others see the brighter side. And two, my goodness, don't books teach us a lot from other people's perspective? Don't books teach us how that we are all people and that we all need have understanding from each other, and we all need to listen to each other really well. I so am a proponent of reading books of every kind and all kinds and about everybody in our world. I really enjoyed this. I like this a whole lot. Wish we could do it again. Anybody have last things to say? Well, I'm really happy we did this. This was so enjoyable. Thank you so much for a wonderful, wonderful discussion. Take care. Hope summer goes well. And we'll see you about the fall.